You can see the screen, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we did last day actually is to find out the selection rules. Okay, and we use the angular momentum commutation relations and hermiticity to find out the selection rule for electric dipole transition. And the two rules that we got is delta m 0 or plus minus 1 and delta L plus minus 1, right? Okay. And did you check
Yes,
this?
yes.
Did you check these relationships? 9.77.
Yes, it is true.
Okay. Okay.
We have just to uh, expand 9.77, and this that box there is check is written, that
Huh.
thing, and it is coming to be the same. But it is
Okay.
little bit difficult to coming from that to that. It will
It
be.
is little difficult. That's why I mean the internal steps that you check that. But yeah, I feel that what you said is right. It's a trick, but it's not very easy trick.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, the other way to do that, actually there are two more ways I found. One thing is to actually play with the parity. Okay, that is
Yes, yes,
how this
yes.
Wigner-Eckert theorem says. If you just play with a little bit with the what will should be the parity, this is one way, and the other thing is Clebs-Gordon coefficient and working out things from there. So that is a little long method. Okay, but yes, whatever you follow, don't worry. But the main important part is that you have to understand how it came and what are these selection rules. Okay,
Yeah, yes, yes.
so हाँ, so it's not like that this is I माने ग्रिफिथ ने किया है तो बस और सब गलत है, सब सही है. तुम कुछ भी फॉलो करो, नो प्रॉब्लम, यू जस्ट गेट टू योर राइट आंसर.
It's actually, I mean, it's little bit the process is difficult, but I think it is the easiest way to understand what Griffith is saying. A Wigner
Yes.
record, yes, I think we can do that from there is a theorem called Great Orthogonality Theorem of
हाँ.
group representation theory.
Exactly from
From
group.
that, actually, we can
Yeah.
calculate use that in Wigner-Eckert theorem, and I mean we can do that these things.
Yes,
We
that
actually
means a
been
group theory.
studying
Have
that.
you have you
Yeah,
learned group theory?
we are actually learning group theory, sir. Actually, Sanjay sir taking class of that particle physics, and where the group theory is usually, I mean, mostly used. So we are learning by ourselves at least algebra, because here I mean कुछ समझ में नहीं आता, मतलब सब ऊपर ऊपर जाता है जो सर बोलते हैं. तो हमको बहुत उसके लिए सर बहुत मेहनत करना पड़ता है पार्टिकल फिजिक्स.
Sanjay sir is a tough teacher. He's a good teacher, but
He's
he
very
will.
he's very
But
punctual, एंड जो भी पूछोगे 1 सेकंड के अंदर आंसर मिल जाता है, पर क्या बोलते कुछ समझ में नहीं आता है. सो वी आर मेकिंग श्योर दैट वी स्क्रीन रिकॉर्ड ऑल हिज लेक्चर सो दैट वी कैन, आई मीन, चेक आफ्टर दैट.
in fact, sometimes I mean this is not. See, in a research you also have to keep in mind. This is my experience that जो होते हैं ना, जो बच्चे एकदम आंसर के मतलब प्रश्न करो तो जल्दी जल्दी आंसर दे देते हैं ना, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं वही
यस,
सबसे स्मार्ट है. रिसर्च में ऐसा नहीं होता है. लॉन्ग टाइम में इट एक्चुअली योर इनोवेशन, योर परसिवियरेंस एंड योर इंटेलिजेंस, ऑल थ्री कम्स इनटू प्ले. तो इट्स अ लॉन्ग टर्म गेम है. टेस्ट मैच जैसा, वनडे जैसा या T20 जैसा नहीं है. तो क्या होता है कि कभी कभार ऐसा होता है, मेरे साथ भी होता था दैट क्लास में हम सब कुछ नहीं समझ पाते हैं. और ऑनलाइन क्लास में तो और भी प्रॉब्लम होता है क्योंकि इंटरेक्शन बहुत कम है. तो अगर रिकॉर्ड किया जाए या एटलीस्ट ऑडियो रिकॉर्ड भी किया जाए स्लाइड्स के साथ, देन इट्स एक्चुअली easier sometimes for a teacher who is very rushing a lot, or you are probably not understanding everything, or you are not present in the class. So many of the, I mean, foreign institutes or even in IITs, they have this online classes loaded up. Okay, and you can actually listen to that many a times and then understand if there is anything not clear. So you can always get back to that. It's not bad. I mean, and this online teaching thing, it is very important that you have a communication in that way. It's not possible always like तुम पढ़ा रहे हो, कोई भी तुम्हारे अंदर है, I mean somebody of you जो शायद कहीं गांव में बैठा है और उतना अच्छी तरह वो कम्युनिकेशन नहीं हो पा रहा है, घर में शायद ऐसे कोई जगह है ही नहीं जहां पे आप ध्यान में मन लगा के 2 घंटा बैठ सकते हो. सो देयर आर डिस्टर्बेंस ऑल ओवर. तो वहां पे क्या है कि तुम रात में सब सो जाने के बाद, रात के 10 बजे के बाद, देन यू लिसन टू दोज लेक्चर्स, हियर देम, work out problems, and probably that is your only study time. So it's not actually a bad idea. Okay, so we all have to adjust to that, and there are good and bad parts both. Okay, this is also our new experience for us also, of how to adapt to things in a classroom environment, on a computer screen or on a mobile phone screen. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah.
So yeah, Sanjay, I mean,
So maybe I will taking responsibility, sir. I mean, I need little bit time. I will look at that Wigner-Rickard theorem and I will tell you. I mean, how
yes,
to
yes.
do.
And group theory, I think in molecular physics also you have to learn group theory.
Yes, yes. In group molecular physics also you have to learn.
Yeah, yeah. I completely forgot, so I have to look out. I really completely forgot group theory. In atomic physics, we hardly use them. So anyway, this is also a point that it's not that everything what you do, what you will do in your research life, you have already read it. I mean, there are many things which you probably have never read it. So either you go and ask your colleague who is faculty of that subject or he knows it, just to get an idea or just to ask wherever you are stuck. And or else sometimes we even do like this, that we attend classes. I mean, this is not a bad thing. In US, I have seen people, even in my institute in Delhi, where I did my PhD, a person who is a basically condensed matter physicist, okay, in from TFR, he had to develop some system in his lab. So he went and sat with, we were all post MSc students. So he sat with us in the post MSc class, all through, all the classes. And he said like, अरे मुझे pumping system नहीं आता है, मुझे वो सब करना है, मुझे पंपिंग सिस्टम, टारगेट बनाना, ये सब, मतलब ये सब आता है, बट अभी मैंने कभी अपनी सिस्टम डेवलप नहीं किया है, पर मुझे समझना है. तो मैं किताब पढ़ के समझ तो पाऊंगा, बट अगर एक क्लास चल रहा है तो मैं क्लास में बैठ जाता हूँ, उसमें और अच्छा समझ में आएगा. सो इट्स गुड. अगर नहीं जानते हो क्लास में चले जाओ, अभी ऑनलाइन में क्लास है तो वो सुन लो, पर सब कुछ जब सीख के नहीं आओगे तो कुछ आप
Yes,
खुद
sir.
ही
Yeah.
सीख सकते हो. और आई थिंक आफ्टर पासिंग आउट एमएससी, आई फील लाइक ऑल ऑफ यू आर मैच्योर्ड इनफ दैट यू कैन लर्न फॉर योरसेल्फ. तुम खुद ही सीख सकते हो. ठीक है, हम ऐसे करते हैं ना, गुरु शिष्य परंपरा में करते हैं ना, जो गुरु ने बोल दिया उसके आगे कुछ नहीं. ऐसा रिसर्च में नहीं है. तुम खुद भी बहुत कुछ सीख सकते हो, और सही है या गलत सीखे हो, ये भी अंडरस्टैंडिंग खुद को ही बनाना है. बिकॉज इन रिसर्च कोई परीक्षा नहीं है, कोई अपना क्वेश्चन पेपर नहीं दे रहा है, आंसर पेपर भी चेक नहीं कर रहा है. इट्स अप टू यू. मतलब स्पेशली फॉर वेदर यू आर थियोरिटिशियन और एन एक्सपेरिमेंटलिस्ट, ऑलवेज यू हैव टू हैव संदेह कि ठीक किया ना, हाउ टू चेक वेदर आई एम राइट और रॉन्ग. ओके, वी ऑलवेज डू दैट कंटिन्यूअसली. ये डेटा सही है, इसमें नॉइज तो नहीं है, कहीं पे कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं हुआ, ये स्पेक्ट्रम सही आ रहा है, ये जो मैंने मार्किंग किया है कि ये स्पेक्ट्रम इस ट्रांजिशन के लिए है वो सही है ना. तो वी ऑलवेज क्वेश्चन एंड करेक्ट आवरसेल्फ. सेल्फ करेक्टिंग थिंग, नोबडी विल करेक्ट फॉर यू. yes, after you give a paper writing and other things, you reach somewhere and you write your result to somewhere, a peer can always tell you. जैसे बोस आइंस्टाइन कंडेंसेशन में हुआ था. So SN Bose gave a postulate to Einstein to check it. It was not published. He just sent it so that देखिए बताइए कि ये सही है कि नहीं. And Einstein immediately saw, and so my God, he didn't just work out a problem. He actually suggested a new kind of particles, a new kind of statistics he has suggested. So Einstein made it
Yeah, yeah.
universal, and he published there, and he kept Bose's name in the front. Bose-Einstein condensation or Bose-Einstein statistics. So this is peer review. After you understand something and then you send it to you send it to somebody who is much learned and much, he knows a lot of other things, or he knows the subject a lot more than you, can actually guide you for making your understanding complete. It many times will happen that the paper that we send, and after it has been reviewed for 6 months, I think 40% of the paper is changed, because he guides that you change certain things and you cross check certain things, you do a couple of more experiments to see whether your whatever you are, I mean whatever you think that you understood, it will be, you can test yourself that this is true. So in science I say that everything is under scrutiny. Nothing is absolutely truth, nothing is absolutely wrong. Like, I mean, I think this is what Feynman used to say, like nothing is impossible. Only thing is that we say for certainty that this has a higher probability than the other. So if you think ये तो नहीं हो सकता है, that means it has a lower probability. ये नहीं बोलो कि नहीं हो सकता है, तुम नहीं कर सकते, आगे से 100 साल बाद शायद कोई कर देगा उसको. He will find out ways to do that. So now, at least in present, you don't have a high probability of working out that one. But maybe after 100 years, it will have a probability. So like that. Okay. This is what we call peer review. It's important that हम क्यों भेजते हैं पेपर को रिव्यू के लिए? Just to cross check whether what we have done is right or wrong, or whether we have missed some points. Peer review also means that there is a teacher who will teach you or will guide you so that your understanding is complete. And he also tells you different other outlooks जो आपने नहीं सोचा होगा. आपने शायद 2-3 चीजें सोचे होंगे और उसके ऊपर एक काम किया है. He might give you more insight. अगर वहां पे काम भी ना आए, maybe later on you might work on that and get your second paper. Therefore, a good reviewer is a big thing. And I mean, we did some experiments which was completely new idea, and we didn't know many thing about that. Actually, reviewer told us that नहीं, ये ऐसा होता है. And then we understood, अरे ये तो हमने mention तो नहीं किया है, हमने तो पढ़ा ही नहीं ठीक से. So it was good. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Yes, I understand.
So this is a dipole transition that you have. So we know that there is one metastable state, since delta L is equal to plus minus 1. So therefore n is equal to 1s cannot, 2s cannot decay down to 1s. So this kind of states where you do not have a transition rule to support you is usually called forbidden. But the forbidden states, I mean, the atom can decay down, or the forbidden states can actually decay down by collisions or multiphoton emission, sort of other kind of interactions, but not directly through dipole transition states, dipole selection rules. So we did that, and then we also increased we also introduced LS coupling. When, I mean, in fine structure, you will see that there will be an LS coupling, and when you have an LS coupling, the good quantum numbers will we will introduce more quantum numbers like J, which is a total quantum number, by L plus S, and we have to write that in a basis set of LM, SM, SMS. So with those, you will see that with those kind of basis involving J and MJ, then the selection rules, you can directly relate those selection rules. From the selection rules you are getting for electric dipole transition, usually the J term will come when we have like interaction with spin orbit coupling, and then the more quantum numbers will come, and the selection rules will also be, say, extended to the new quantum numbers, J and MJ. So this is what it said, and we will come to that point later on when we introduce J. So this is about electric dipole transition rules. And next we went to magnetic dipole Hamiltonians, or magnetic dipole and electric quadrupole transition rules. This came forward when we tried to include the terms that we have left out. Okay, so what we have left out? We have left out two things. One is we have left out the interaction between spin and magnetic field. So interaction between spin and magnetic field, and we have left out the expansion of the power expansion of the dipole electric terms. So in equation 45, the first WDE, that is the dipole electric interaction term of the Hamiltonian, which we have worked out. But the second term is W1 minus WDE. So this is the difference between W1 has the power expansion terms and WDE only takes the first term of that. So therefore, the higher orders of the power expansion of e to the power plus minus IKY is to be added. So this term is this W1 minus WDE. This subtraction, this term is only the higher order terms of the expansion e to the power plus minus IKY, which is actually of the order of lambda 0 by A0 by lambda. So atomic dimensions. Like this is understood, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Tell me if you haven't understood, then I can go back and see. And the other term is W2 term, and W2 term is completely spin magnetic moment interaction, S dot B term, which we have ignored because that term is also like A0 by lambda, this order of magnitude less than the WDE term. Now from equation 46 you can see, like if we want to calculate the second term W1 minus WDE, then we expand e to the power plus minus IKY, and after expanding e to the power plus minus IKY, it is 1 plus minus IKY plus, and this is the expansion. So we take the minus 1 term on the other side. So minus 1 is the only term that we have considered while calculating the electric dipole transitions. So we take that out, and therefore only the higher terms, the first term will be plus minus IKY, and the other expansion terms, this is only there, like k square, y square term, and other things. So this plus minus IKY term will be the first term in this subtraction, Wi minus Wd. And we can, okay,
Yes,
and
sir.
we can expand that term in terms of IKA0 minus IKA0 e to the power I omega t, and then PZY. So this y is there, and PZY. This actually we found from equation 19. So yeah, this actually we found from the expression of uh, vector uh, this Wi form from equation 19. Okay. Okay. So we put that one, and we found from this equation 46, and equation in the equation 46, since we have a term of IKA0, this IKA0 is actually equal to B by 2. This we defined before. So I omega A0 is E by 2, IK A0 is B by 2. Therefore, we can replace A0 IK A0 term with B by 2. And then we also have two real quantities E and B. These are the amplitudes of the electric and magnetic field, which is equal to omega by K is equal to C. So we will also use this relationship E by B is equal to C. So just using these two relationships, we get to have this equation 47, where IKA0 and the other term e to the power I omega t minus e to the power omega t, this came out to be cos omega t, pzy is there, okay, and then the e to ik a0, this is replaced by b. So we finally got a magnetic field term. And now pzy, actually pzy we can write as pzy. So we added up minus zpy and plus zpy into this pzy relationship, and therefore from commutation relationship we know that pzy minus zpy is lx. So we got an lx term and then we got a pzy plus zpy term. Okay, so therefore we replace everything in as per the equation 48, we replace that into, say, in the expression for W1 minus WDE. So therefore we got a term of q by 2m Lx b cos omega t and another term of cos omega t y pz plus zpy. Right? This is also clear.
Yes.
Now then we have two things we can now, and as well as, so this actually is a term of magnetic field, but it is not related to the spin, but it is related to the angular momentum, orbital angular momentum. Now this is just W1 minus WDE. The one thing that is left after that is W2 term of the interaction Hamiltonian. That W2 term is minus qm sx minus sx b cos omega t. So that is exactly the spin with magnetic field interaction. Okay, and what we did is that this W2 term, S dot B term, will now to actually get to this form, we look back at W1 term, because W2 term, now this actually you can work out just to check, or you can actually follow the same thing that we did here. So see, P dot A, we followed certain ways of getting to that, like here. So P dot, instead of minus the W1 term Q by M P dot A, we replace that by minus Q by M S dot B. And if you do that, then W2 term will have, instead of having PZ and this is A, it will have S, it will have S and Sx, because the magnetic field is along the X direction, X dot, and instead of A you will have B. So, and therefore the magnetic field will have an expression of that, and then you will also have an expression where you will have e to the power plus minus iky. So when you are calculating W2t, you will again have an exponential of e to the power plus minus iky. From there, we only take the first term because the second term ky have atomic dimensions and that is very much less than 1. Can you, I mean, understand this one? So it's the same thing that we did for dipole electric, we are doing for magnetic dipole electric or electric dipole approximation. We are doing the same thing for magnetic dipole approximation. Is
Yes,
this
sir.
clear?
Yes.
Okay. And how can we write B? Yes, see, you can actually write B in terms of you can write B in terms of vector potential as it is del cross A. So del cross A, and this is the expression for B, right? Only the vector term is always X because B is along X. So the vector is Ex. Baki everything you can write as in the form of IKA0 and e to the power IKY you can get here, and e to the power I omega t you can get from the other one. And this is how you write. So instead of electric, in the case of electric field P dot A, we wrote the form of A, and in case of B, S dot B, we took this form of B, which is this one. This is also correct, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you work all these things together, just like we have worked for the electric dipole, you would get the expression which is given by this 50 for the magnetic dipole. Okay, so this is very similar to how you have worked W1. Now you are doing for W2. And then adding all of them, W2 and adding all of them, now you will get an expression like this, where dipole electric is there, and then the magnetic dipole, the electric dipole, as well as the electric quadrupole is there. And therefore, the magnetic dipole term will have Lx plus 2 Sx term, B cos omega t. And electric quadrupole, now electric quadrupole, what is that? The electric quadrupole is actually the last term of equation 49. But here you can replace B, I mean B by electric field E when you include a C term. So see, so dipole magnetic will have Sx term. This is from W2 interaction, and Lx term, which is from W1 minus WdE Hamiltonian. So therefore, magnetic dipole will have an Lx as well as Sx term. So it has both orbital angular momentum and spin angular momentum into that. And the quadrupole electric, this term will have an electric field term, but it will have ypx plus zpy. Okay, so these are the two interaction Hamiltonian for magnetic dipole and quadrupole, electric quadrupole. Now, how to work out and get the transition selection rules? So we just take the magnetic dipole term now, and this actually represents the interaction of the total magnetic moment of the electron with the oscillating magnetic field of the incident wave, because it has Lx and Sx, both L and S both terms. Now the magnetic dipole transition selection rule can be obtained by considering the conditions which must be met by psi I and psi f. So therefore, what it says is that just like electric dipole Hamiltonian or matrix to exist, it should not be zero. So you must have a non-zero matrix element for dipole electric. Similarly, you should have a non-zero matrix element for dipole magnetic. Between the transition states, that is psi I and psi f, the ground state and excited state. And here the conditions, first of all, is that Lx, the first condition is Lx and Sx does not change the quantum number. So we should have the first rule as delta L is equal to 0. Okay, this, I think this can be worked out by ladder operators. Have you checked it? I think
No,
Lx is equal to half of L plus plus half of Ly, some kind of like that, no?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so it's probably going to add one and then subtract the same thing.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so delta L to 0 is one of the conditions. And then you have the magnetic field B. Now you have to find out the condition on ML and MS, because you have L and S operators, so ML and MS, and therefore Sx changes the eigenvalue ML of Lz. Now why Lz? Because even if you have a magnetic field along x direction, your propagation direction is along z. So there Lx has to operate on Lz, and when it does that, the eigenvalue changes by plus minus 1. So you get a delta ML is equal to plus minus 1 as a condition. And similarly for Sx, it changes the eigenvalue Ms of Sz by plus minus 1. So is that okay?
Yes, sir. I think yes.
Yes. And there are two more conditions. I think this is nicely, I don't know whether I find a reference where things have been worked out. If I get one, I can send you. Okay. Maybe some old book will have it, but not Bransden Joachim. And if the magnetic field is parallel to OZ, that is if the magnetic, I mean quantization axis, so this is like the magnetic field is parallel to OX, I mean in the X axis. So if the magnetic field is along the Z axis, then we will also have two more rules, that is delta ML is equal to 0 and delta MS is equal to 0. So, so either if the magnetic field is parallel, I mean to the propagation axis, then you will have the selection rules as delta ML and delta MS as 0. And if it is perpendicular to the propagation axis, then you will have the selection rules as plus minus 1. Okay. We'll find
Yes.
out more about this, I think, in the Zeeman effect. So, so what we got is that we got delta L is equal to 0. So this is a different from what we got in the electric dipole transition. Electric dipole transition, delta L is plus minus 1. Therefore, we have a metastable state. Here, delta L is equal to 0 in magnetic dipole transition. So the condition here is different. And the other part is that for, so therefore one example of such kind of magnetic dipole transition is F is actually a hyperfine quantum number that you will also study later on. So F is equal to 0 to F is equal to 1 ground state of hydrogen atom. This transition is a magnetic dipole transition. Since the components of S have non-zero matrix element, between the states F is equal to 1 and F is equal to 0, MF is equal to 0 state. So this transition from ground state to excited state of hydrogen, this hyperfine transition is a magnetic dipole transition. This is just one of the examples that you will get that. Okay, so this is about magnetic dipole transition. Now we have another term left, that is QE, WQE, that is electric quadrupole transition. Now here things are fun because we have a term called YPZ plus ZPY, and we can replace, I mean we can smartly write as like uh, ZPY, we can write at PYZ, and then we can I mean we can do a little bit trick on the commutation relationships, and then we can write the entire thing as m by IH bar XY80 minus 80XY 80YZ. Okay, and from as in equation 36 we can actually have this relationship. If we take a matrix element on quadrupole electric, we finally can get these kind of expression as Q by 2IC omega Fi, that is the frequency between the energy levels, and the matrix element finally boils down to YZ of YZ between the final state and initial state and E cos omega t. So what is equation 36? Let us go back and see. Yeah. So this actually uses equation 36. What it uses is that if you have like PZ, find a matrix element, if you want to find a matrix element over PZ, we redefined. So we did the entire thing as we did for electric dipole. So PZ we wrote as a commutation relationship of Z80. Okay, so here we did the same thing. So it was Z, I mean it was PYZ and ZPY. So we wrote PY as or 1 by H bar by M, or PY as M by IH bar Y80, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we use that kind of trick of commutation relation, and then we find out something as an expression of I m omega fi and matrix element around Z. Now see, this is a matrix element around Z when we started off on a matrix element on momentum P. But here in this case, it is not only P term, but along with the P term, there is either a Y or a Z term. So we replaced PZ with Z80, and we replaced PY by Y80, Y and Hamiltonian. So we replaced both of them in terms of a commutation relation. And then we added them up and we got XY80 minus 80XY. So therefore, when we find out the matrix element on the quadrupole electric interaction, Hamiltonian,
It's not acts on YF and Fi. Phi F and Phi I.
hello?
Yes, sir, we did that because we don't know how Y and PZ are acting on the states Phi A and Phi F, but we know that how H naught, which is the unperturbed Hamiltonian, acts on Phi I and Phi A. That's why we, that's why we, if I act on Phi F, it will be I will get EF. I act, it's not on Phi I. That's why that how it's
Yes. I mean, see, 80 is the, we do not know how XY operates, but 80 operates and gives an energy, I mean, eigenvalue of EI and EF. That is true. And from EI and EF, just as it has been done in equation 36 for electric dipole transition, uh, we got something like EI minus EF, which we denoted by omega Fi.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
EI, EF minus EI and then by H bar square, by H bar, which we denoted by omega Fi, which is the transition frequency. But then we are left out with a matrix element. So in dipole electric, we are left out with a matrix element of Z. So it depends upon Z means your propagation direction was along Z. Okay. But here you are in electric quadrupole transition, you are left out with a matrix element which is not just Z, but it is YZ. So therefore, this matrix element is proportional to YZ, not just one, but two dimension. So two dimension means it is actually not a plane. I mean, not one axis, but it is kind of a plane. What does that mean is, which is a component of the electric quadrupole moment of the atom, which is of the order of q dEz by dy. So it is like a change of electric field along z axis for a change of space in y. So what is along, so the electric field is along y axis. Okay, so if you change in, so as we go in y axis, the electric field on the propagation direction changes. So this is not just a number now, but this is a gradient.
Yes.
Now this electric quadrupole transition can be therefore interpreted as the interaction of the electric quadrupole moment of the atom with the gradient of the electric field of the plane wave. How can you produce a gradient of the electric field? Have you ever thought? So in space propagation, what is an electric field? So if we think about the direction of an electric field, what comes into mind is either it is linearly polarized or circularly polarized, or a special case is elliptically polarized, right? But those kind of electric fields does not change with space. I mean, you can have a circular polarized or linearly polarized light which is continuously being linearly polarized all through your propagation direction, right? If you take a linear polarized beam and it interacts with something, it is always linearly polarized. So whether it goes through an atom or whether it goes through a solid medium, it is always linearly polarized. it doesn't change its electric vector in the propagation direction. But here it's a case where it demands a change of the electric field strength. I mean, if the electric field vector changes, the electric field strength will also change. So it is demands and change in the amplitude of the electric field as you go in space. That is what is meant by gradient. Did you understand this thing?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you can think that, and what happens is that how can you then have such a field? So, I mean, in our lab, you haven't heard of vortex beam. Have you heard it? Or Lagore Gaussian beam. You have heard of Gaussian beam. All our laser beams are Gaussian. All our optics, actually, not even laser beam or any other beam, is always Gaussian. Right? A Lagore Gaussian beam is something very interesting. A Lagore Gaussian beam, it actually changes its electric field direction or its helicity along the propagation direction. So it can have a number of funny kind of way where it can change its helicity.